Welcome to our channel. Africa, the cradle of civilization and the motherland of humanity, has endured centuries of struggle, oppression, and resilience. From the scars of colonialism to the battles for independence, from the exploitation of its vast resources to the unyielding spirit of its people, Africa has been a land of trials and triumphs. Yet, despite the changes of the past, Africa stands tall, rich in culture, wisdom, and divine heritage.
The world has often misunderstood Africa, seeing it through the lens of suffering rather than recognizing its sacredness, its strength, and its true place in the grand design of the Almighty. But today, we awaken to a profound truth. Africa is not just the birthplace of civilization, it is the holy land of God. Biblical and historical evidence confirm Africa's significance in both spiritual and historical contexts, as it plays a central role in the divine narrative of humanity. From the earliest stories of creation to the accounts of great leaders, prophets, and the Messiah himself, Africa has always been at the heart of God's plan.
The Bible makes numerous references to African nations, particularly Egypt, Ethiopia, Cush, and Libya, highlighting their divine purpose and connection to God's chosen people. Egypt was a land of refuge and divine intervention, a place where many pivotal biblical events unfolded. When King Herod sought to kill the infant Jesus, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, commanding him to flee with Mary and the child to Egypt. This was not a coincidence, but a fulfillment of prophecy, as recorded in Hosea 11 verse 1. Out of Egypt I called my son. Egypt was not only a place of safety for the Messiah, but had long been a land where God's people found protection and provision. When famine struck the region, it was Egypt where Joseph, son of Jacob, rose to power and became the instrument through which God saved entire nations, including his own family, from starvation.
Ethiopia, referred to as Cush in the Bible, is mentioned over 40 times in Scripture, signifying its importance in the spiritual and historical framework of God's plan. One of the most notable biblical figures associated with Ethiopia is the Queen of Sheba, who journeyed to Jerusalem to seek wisdom from King Solomon. She was not merely a visitor but a seeker of divine truth, and upon witnessing Solomon's wisdom, she blessed the God of Israel. Ethiopia's significance continued into the New Testament when an Ethiopian eunuch, a high official in the court of Queen Candace, was baptized by Philip. This act made Ethiopia one of the earliest nations to receive the gospel, further proving its sacred role in divine history. Moses, one of the greatest prophets in biblical history, also had a direct African connection. The scriptures tell us that Moses married an Ethiopian Cushite woman, as recorded in Numbers 12 verse 1. This union was significant enough to be mentioned in the Bible, showing that the people of Africa were deeply intertwined with the story of God's chosen ones. Additionally, the very place where Moses encountered the presence of God, the burning bush on Mount Sinai, lies within the African continent. This further solidifies Africa's divine connection and its role as a land where God revealed his power and purpose.
Historically, Africa has been the cradle of civilization, home to some of the most advanced societies that contributed to human knowledge, faith, and governance. Ancient Egypt, known as Kemet, was one of the greatest civilizations in history, a place of extraordinary wisdom, science, and spirituality. The biblical story of the Exodus takes place in Egypt, where Moses, guided by God, led the Israelites out of slavery. This moment was not only a defining event for the people of Israel, but also a testament to Africa's role in fulfilling divine prophecies. Beyond Egypt, the kingdom of Cush, Nubia, was a powerful African empire that played a vital role in both biblical and historical narratives. The Cushites were known for their strength, wisdom, and devotion to God. In Isaiah 18 verse 7, Cush is described as a mighty nation that will one day bring gifts to the Lord, demonstrating its spiritual importance. The Cushite rulers even governed Egypt for a time, bringing with them their rich traditions and faith, proving that Africa was not just a secondary player in history, but a key force in shaping the spiritual and political world.
Africa's divine role is not only a thing of the past, but extends into prophecy and the future. In Psalm 68 verse 31, It is written, Ethiopia shall stretch out her hands unto God. This prophetic declaration signifies that Africa will play a crucial role in the spiritual awakening of the world. Despite centuries of oppression, colonization, and attempts to erase its divine heritage, Africa is rising again. The African people, who have endured hardship, displacement, and suffering, are now reclaiming their identity as a chosen people with a sacred mission. Another powerful biblical prophecy concerning Africa is found in Zephaniah 3 verse 10, which states, From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my worshippers, the daughter of my dispersed people, shall bring me offerings. This verse acknowledges Africa as a place of restoration, a land from which God's people will gather once again. It speaks of a time when Africa will no longer be seen as a land of suffering, but as a land of spiritual power, where people will return to worship and honor the Almighty.
Africa is not just the birthplace of humanity, but a land chosen by God for His divine purposes. It has been a place of refuge, wisdom, and prophecy. It is home to some of the world's most ancient and sacred sites, where God's presence has been revealed time and time again. Africa's story is one of resilience, faith, and destiny. Though the world has sought to diminish its significance, the truth cannot be hidden. Africa is the holy land of God. It is time for the children of Africa to rise and embrace their divine calling, to walk boldly in the truth, and to remind the world of Africa's sacred role in God's plan for humanity. The rise of indigenous African spirituality, combined with a renewed understanding of biblical truths, is a sign that Africa is stepping into its prophetic destiny. The awakening is not just about knowledge, but about transformation. Africa is being prepared to lead the world back to righteousness, to restore divine principles, and to set an example of spiritual strength.
Africa's natural resources, cultural wealth, and human resilience are all indications that it is a land blessed by God. Despite centuries of exploitation and oppression, Africa remains rich in minerals, fertile land, and unparalleled biodiversity. This is no accident, but a sign of divine favor. Deuteronomy 8 verses 7-9 describes a land blessed with resources flowing with abundance, much like Africa. It is no surprise that foreign nations have long sought to control Africa's wealth, for they recognize its value. However, as prophecy unfolds, Africa will no longer be a continent exploited by others, but will rise in power, claiming its rightful place as a leader in global affairs. Africa's role in prophecy is also tied to its youth. The younger generation is embracing a new sense of identity, rejecting colonial ideologies, and reconnecting with their ancestral roots. This movement aligns with Joel 2 verse 28, which states, And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. The awakening among African youth is a fulfillment of this prophecy as they seek truth, justice, and divine wisdom. This generation is rising with knowledge, courage, and a deep spiritual hunger, ready to restore Africa's dignity and purpose.
The final restoration of Africa is not just about reclaiming history, but about fulfilling destiny. Africa's role is not to remain in the shadows, but to shine as a beacon of truth and righteousness. The prophecies concerning Africa are not distant dreams. They are unfolding now. The voices of African prophets, teachers, and leaders are growing stronger, calling for unity, faith, and restoration. The world is beginning to recognize Africa's significance, and soon no one will be able to deny its divine role. As the world moves closer to the fulfillment of end-time prophecies, Africa's importance will become even clearer. The continent that was once misrepresented as a land of darkness will be revealed as a land of light. The people who were once oppressed will be elevated, and the nations that were once broken will be restored. Africa is not forgotten. It is chosen. It is not cursed. It is blessed. It is not weak. It is rising. The time has come for Africa to embrace its destiny. The prophecies are unfolding, and the truth can no longer be hidden. The world will soon witness the full manifestation of Africa's divine calling. The spiritual revival has begun, and nothing can stop it. Africa, the holy land of God, is stepping into its prophetic role, ready to fulfill the promises written long ago. The restoration of Africa is not just a hope, it is a certainty. The time is now. Rise up, Africa. The time is now.
For centuries, Africa has endured trials that tested its strength, resilience, and faith. From colonial rule to economic exploitation, from the transatlantic slave trade to cultural suppression, the continent has been subjected to great suffering. Yet, through every hardship, Africa has remained standing. The people of this land have endured, persevered, and continued to rise despite the weight of history pressing against them. Now, the time has come for Africa to reclaim its destiny, to rise from the ashes of oppression, and to step into the divine calling that has been ordained since the beginning of time. The world has long misrepresented Africa, portraying it as a land of poverty, disease, and struggle. However, those who truly know Africa understand that it is a land of wealth, wisdom, and spiritual power. It is the birthplace of civilization, the home of ancient knowledge, and the foundation of humanity. Its soil is rich with the footprints of prophets, kings, and visionaries who shaped the course of history. The time has come to break the chains of mental and spiritual bondage that have held Africa back for too long. It is time to cast off the false narratives that have been imposed and embrace the truth. Africa is chosen, blessed, and destined for greatness.
The spiritual awakening sweeping across the continent is undeniable. More people are discovering their true heritage, reconnecting with their ancestors, and reclaiming their divine identity. The teachings that were hidden, the knowledge that was suppressed, and the wisdom that was stolen are being restored. Africa is remembering who it is. This is not just a movement, it is a prophecy being fulfilled. The voices of the past, the cries of those who fought for freedom, and the prayers of those who longed for liberation are being answered. The rise of Africa is not just a political or economic shift, it is a spiritual revolution. The youth of Africa are at the forefront of this transformation. A new generation is rising, armed with knowledge, courage, and an unshakable belief in their purpose. They are rejecting the divisions that once kept them apart and embracing the unity that will make them stronger. They are questioning the systems that have oppressed them and creating new paths toward liberation. They are reclaiming their cultural heritage, restoring their spiritual traditions, and standing boldly in their truth. This generation will not be silent. They will not be held back. They will not be stopped. The time is now for them to take their rightful place as leaders, innovators, and visionaries who will shape the future of Africa and the world.
The continent's natural resources, abundant land, and limitless potential have always been a target for those who sought to control Africa's destiny. But no longer will Africa's wealth be used for the benefit of others while its own people suffer. No longer will its resources be stolen while its children go hungry. No longer will Africa's future be dictated by those who do not have its best interests at heart. The time has come for Africa to rise in economic independence, political strength, and global influence. It is time to build industries, strengthen communities, and invest in the future. It is time to create opportunities that uplift the people and empower the nations. It is time to stand together, united, refusing to be divided by borders that were drawn by those who sought to conquer. The restoration of Africa is not a dream, it is a divine promise. It is written in the prophecies, spoken in the sacred texts, and confirmed in the spirit of those who carry the vision. Africa is not meant to be forgotten, it is meant to lead. It is not meant to remain in the shadows, it is meant to shine. The time of waiting is over. Africa must rise with confidence, with faith, and with the knowledge that the future belongs to those who believe in their calling. The world is watching, and Africa's rise will be undeniable. No longer will its people be seen as victims, but as victors. No longer will its history be told by those who seek to diminish it, but by those who have lived it. No longer will Africa be underestimated because the power within it is awakening. It is a continent of kings and queens, of warriors and healers, of visionaries and creators. It is time to walk boldly into this truth. It is time to reclaim the legacy that was meant to be. It is time to take back what was stolen.
This is the moment. This is the hour. The ancestors are calling. The future is waiting. The heavens are aligning. Africa, rise up. The time is now. The truth is undeniable, unshakable, and clear. Africa is not merely a continent. It is a divine land, chosen by God, rich in history, culture, and spiritual significance. For too long, the world has overlooked the truth, suppressing Africa's greatness and diminishing its role in the divine plan of humanity. However, the time has come for the veil to be lifted, for the world to recognize what has always been evident. Africa is the cradle of civilization, the source of profound spiritual wisdom, and a land destined for restoration and glory. The time is now. Africa, rise. Africa is rising, and the time is now. The future is here. The truth will no longer be hidden. The world will know, and Africa will shine. Will you be part of Africa's awakening? The time is now. Africa is rising, and you have a role to play. This is not just a prophecy to witness, but a calling to embrace. Stand for truth. Seek wisdom. Walk in faith. Be a voice for change and a vessel for restoration. Pray for Africa. Support its growth. Share its true story. The world is shifting, and Africa is at the center of God's divine plan. Will you rise with it? The call has gone out. Answer it.